The job industry is not built for me, and I think I just want to do something of my own.
So you found yourself to be a misfit,
and I found myself to be a misfit.
I wanted to be a doctor, doing engineering, getting placed in an IT job.
You started with a single restaurant?
We started from a really small experimental kitchen.
In Orissa, we call burger pizza. So it's not a category, right?
Yeah.
Burger pizza sandwich.
Yeah.
So when I had a real burger, I thought, okay, fine, this is a glorious product.
There would have been a lot of challenges over the last few years. I think the COVID phase being one of those.
As an entrepreneur, it's important to pivot when required,
right?
Without being stuck to what you were originally doing. At any given point of time, you need to innovate, you need to pivot.
We as a brand actually had our revenues going high because people who were coming to the store started ordering from online.
Yeah. At any point of time, did you think that the risks were too high? अब नहीं हो पा रहा है, अभी छोड़ते हैं. कभी ऐसा feeling आया है?
वो तो आ रहा था. We were in the middle of the ocean. You cannot go this side or that side.
It's like you're on a treadmill.
Yeah.
You either run and run faster or just fall off.
What's the toughest truth about running a business that nobody has ever mentioned to you?
The first 1,000 days of a business are the most important. You will work 18-20 hours a day if you are serious about it. If you par Crore the first 1,000 days, it'll be a breeze after that.
You'll be working all alone most of the time.
Okay.
So you'll not get like-minded people who would have
एकला चलो रे.
एकला चलो रे.
Hello and welcome back to the Risk and Riches podcast by Clarify Life, an initiative by HDFC Life Insurance, the podcast where we deep dive into the stories behind successful founders unfiltered. I'm your host Vishal Subharwal, Chief Marketing Officer and Group Head Strategy. Today, we have two outstanding founders with us, each on a mission to reshape what we eat and drink. Joining us today is Biraja Prasad Raut, the founder of Biggies Burger, India's largest homegrown burger chain, and alongside him, we have Rucheyta Bhatia, the founder of Love and Cheesecake, a brand that's taken the dessert world by storm in India with its rich, handcrafted cheesecakes. Rucheyta and Biraja, welcome to the show. So Biraja, let me start with you. You started in the state of Orissa, became an IT engineer, then went to Bangalore to work. You had your first burger at the age of 21, 22?
21.
21?
21, yeah.
And now, a decade later, you're pretty much running one of the largest Indian burger chains in the country. So tell us a little bit about this journey.
So I believe when I started Biggies Burger, I did not have the vision of building something. I did not even know what is QSR. Today we say QSR, quick service restaurant, all these things. I believe it was like, how do I see tomorrow's morning? Because none of my family members are from business. Neither I am an MBA graduate coming from Orissa, where the exposure of QSRs, I think MACD got into Orissa last 2 years back.
Okay.
So our understanding of QSR, F&B, business was absolutely a vacuum. It was zero. When I got placed in Infosys, then the real clarity was there. I wanted to be a doctor, doing engineering, getting placed in an IT job.
Okay.
So there is no connect of electrical and IT job.
So you lived a life of glorious uncertainties in some sense, and then you landed in Bangalore, in Mysore. Mysore in a software job.
True.
Which is where you saw a burger stand and that kind of...
which is where I got exposed to KFCs and MACDs.
Okay.
I tried the first real burger. So in Orissa, we call burger pizza. So it's not a category, right?
Yeah.
Burger pizza sandwich.
Yeah.
So वो कैसे भी sandwich की तरह burger बनता है, सब में tomato डालते हैं, cucumber डालते हैं, देते हैं. So when I had a real burger, I thought, okay, fine, this is a glorious product. It's an amazing product. So I used to go to Crore to have some burgers.
Okay.
And over that 6-7 months of time, I developed my own style of burger taste.
Okay.
So I used to like those grilled thick patties, bread, less sweet bread, and only caramel onions, something sort of that. The way God wanted the burgers to be.
Okay.
Not the fancy way, not the mayo way, the barbecued way. So then I was not getting. So every day I have to, like every week, twice or thrice, I used to go to Crore, Kalyan Nagar to have those burgers. So I felt as I have been pursuing this product too much, and that was like an eye opener as a product. I did some research around KFC MACD. I saw they have 40,000, 50,000 outlets, so large. Then why not I start something as a kiosk?
See, most people would be afraid of seeing, big brands and going out there and competing against a big brand.
No, when you don't know how deep is the ocean, you dive it, right?
Yeah.
So I did not know about how tough it is going to be.
Right.
So it was about running a single 5x5
Ignorance
kiosk.
was bliss in some sense.
Yeah, amazing.
Okay,
Ignorance, no business experience,
okay,
no MBA experience, because you have a predefined mindset. You have to do this way.
Okay.
First P&L, then business.
Right.
For me, it was not the first Biggies burger.
Okay.
First burger. Then
Okay.
P&L, VNL, they will be taken care of.
Cool. We'll just stop there and maybe just hear what Rucheyta's journey was all about. How did you start, Rucheyta?
So I did an economics graduation from Bombay University. I got campus placed, luckily, with a very large market research company in India. Worked there for about 10 months. I was bored after, very quickly, and I realized that I needed something more challenging. And I needed something that would, get me excited feel that sense of satisfaction and get me more excited every day. So I thought advertising would be that answer. I quickly moved to an advertising agency, again, a very big one in the country, one of the top couple of them. And there, luckily, that reality hit me faster. Within 2 months, I felt like, I think the job industry is not built for me, and I think I just want to do something of my own.
So you found yourself to be a misfit,
and I found myself to be a misfit, yes.
And tried your hand at?
I tried my hand. I went to my parents, and I wanted to start a pub.
Okay.
At 21, my parents thought I was crazy. I was 21. They said, we don't have the kind of money. We don't have that kind of. We don't think you're prepared for it.
Right.
So I said, okay, I want some money. I'm going to start something of my own, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay.
So I got some money from them, a really small sum, and I started a corporate training company with paintball as its module or the base, and we had a paintball field, and I ran that for about 4 or 5 years. I collected money, made money, collected money, was very disciplined about saving up all that money. And with that money, I jumped into the food and beverage industry.
Perfect. You were working with a IT firm and you started your first kiosk about 10 years back.
About 13 years back.
About 13 years back.
2011.
And you invested your own money as a side hustle? Was it like a side hustle? What's the story behind that?
It was 25,000. I bought a small old kiosk.
Okay.
A pre-owned kiosk, and you have to buy bread daily, make patties,
right.
Buy some.
And you were making it at your home and then getting it there?
So back then I was staying with 6 Kerala roommates. So they were my roommates. I was not knowing their language, so that was also a blessing to me that I was not able to understand what's happening.
Yeah.
So I was alone, and I had a cook for all of us who was an Odia guy.
Okay.
So
the two of you got together. He was managing the kiosk, and you put in some money to run the kiosk.
Yeah, he was my first employee who was at the store till 6 p.m. and post then once I come from the office, I was there.
Okay, so that's your story. Rucheyta, how did you get to Italian cheesecakes and how did you narrow it down?
I think the story for most entrepreneurs is sort of similar. The graph is sort of similar.
Yeah.
No, the curve is the same.
Okay.
I think as entrepreneurs, when you're starting out,
yeah,
you are in that blissful ignorance where you haven't realized how deep or how expansive what you're getting into can become. You don't think so much. You don't really analyze the risks as much. You believe fundamentally that this is my money and I have the freedom to choose what I can do for it, because somewhere you feel like I have earned it. Khud ne kamaya hai, to agar, it's even if it just evaporates and burns, it's okay because I have made it, I have lost it.
Right.
I'm not taking it from someone.
You've not borrowed it from someone.
And I
both
think
money and time.
Absolutely. So I think that was my sort of safe zone when I was starting this, because this was not money that I had taken from someone. This was money that I had saved and collected, hard-earned money of my own from the previous business into something that I really had the belief in.
Right.
So once I sold off my paintball corporate training company, I took that money and I started thinking of going to study abroad. And I wanted to be a chef at that point. I thought I will be a chef. And I studied, I applied to Culinary Institute of America. I quickly realized, they asked me for a work internship, and I joined a 5-star hotel where I realized I didn't have the discipline to be a chef. But I still really was interested in the business side of things. And I still wanted that dream of having an F&B company.
Right.
So I convinced a chef from the hotel to join me. He became my equal partner, and the two of us started Brew
So you had a
Works.
home cook, you had a chef at a 5-star hotel, but essentially, the two converged in some sense in terms of the graph.
I think you need that first guy who trusts on your vision, not that first person.
Right.
That's very
And
easy.
you started with a single restaurant?
We started with a single restaurant. We started from a really small experimental kitchen, one of the main roads of Bandra.
Right.
And it was at back of a building where somebody
Right.
would have to, we had a red door, so we would call the address said shop with the red door, because how else do you
Right.
explain to people? Somebody would have to ring the doorbell.
Right.
We had a small Visi cooler with about 8-10 cheesecakes to choose from.
Okay.
You would walk in, you would wait till your fresh cheesecake was getting made.
Okay.
And then once you've waited 20 minutes, it's made in front of you, you know that it's fresh, and quality was always very, very important to us. That's how we really started.
Sure.
We ran that for about 9 months before we started opening our outlets.
Sure. There would have been a lot of challenges over the last few years. I think the COVID phase being one of those, and when everything was shut down. So did you change the business model? How were you able to manage the risk? There would have been rentals to pay, salaries to pay,
yes,
the entire infrastructure and costs that you guys would have acquired.
So I think again, as an entrepreneur, it's important to pivot when required,
right?
Without being stuck to what you were originally doing. At any given point of time, you need to innovate, you need to pivot. So how we pivoted was very simple. If customers couldn't walk into our stores, we will go to the customer.
Right.
We had about 7-8 delivery vans that we owned. We converted them into food trucks.
Right.
We would go into, this is as early as, I think March is when COVID hit, and this is as early as mid-April.
2020.
We would, in 2020, we understood that customers do need food, because everybody's, after a point, how much can you cook at home?
Right.
You have your limitation on the number of people at home, and the limitation on the maids and the help, and anything. So you still need help. You still want your breads, and you still want dessert, because you really do want to feel good.
Craving for it.
Yeah. And it was that time where anything made you feel good, right?
Yeah.
So we went into building complexes, and we set up stores through those food trucks.
Yeah.
And we continued to bring in revenue into the company to stabilize. We continued to, pay some bit of salaries, not all of, obviously, but we continued to do what we could to survive, for our employees to be comfortable. Our landlords were very kind. They supported us throughout very early on. So I think they were decent years for us. Of course, it was crunched and there were stresses, but I think we still stabilized and we did well eventually.
Sure. How was your experience managing
For
this?
us, I believe that was a time where we thought of optimizing things, because throughout the last 8 years or 7 years, we have been just running every day. So we got good time to think on which are the most important things, priority things, and leave some things back.
So you use that opportunity or that window to become more efficient.
I think that was the time that we looked upon inside ourselves. Sure. And I believe before that, the digital revenue was not very high. We are a primary offline brand, and because of pandemic, I think they have created this behavior of online ordering a lot.
Right.
So we as a brand actually had our revenues going high, because people who were coming to the store started ordering from online. And that gave a new exposure for us also, that our products can be consumed
at home as well. Okay.
We also had, I think 22, 23 were good years for the industry in general, because a lot of people would have reserves. We had a lot of reserves, and those were the years that we wanted to grow.
So you conserved a lot of cash in some sense within the business.
See, we have been very, very focused and disciplined from day one. We've grown from profit. So we've had no choice but to be cautious about all our decisions.
And you have not raised any external capital?
We haven't raised any external capital so far. We've been independent, and we've been growing at our speed. So we used those years for massive growth. So until before COVID, we were at 6 outlets. Post-COVID, we opened 17 in those years.
Yeah, in a very short span of time.
Very short span. So we realized that, there were great spaces that were suddenly available to us, because we're largely a brick and mortar store.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the aggregators helped tremendously, because while the business moved from being a 20% online to a, say, 60-70% online, but I think the aggregators helped in further keeping businesses
and the brand reach
afloat.
And people testing your brand and their products and everything else.
And just making it more convenient for a customer.
Sure. Biraja, you also raised capital after a very long time. For almost 5 years, you funded it through your cash flows, and then you kind of ventured through a franchisee model. Was that a way to kind of de-risk some of the financial risk that you have in the business?
I believe this franchise model, we took it for scaling up quickly. So I believe at that point of time, again, the exposure of debt or equity was not very strong.
Right.
And QSR as a product was getting established in the whole ecosystem of India. So franchising at that point of time was growing. So we felt franchising can be an easy route to expand things.
Right.
But yeah, it has pros and cons. It took a good amount of 5-6 years to stabilize the franchises, to make sure that franchises are not disturbing the product. The SOPs are maintained. So it's been what?
Yeah, SOPs are very important,
yeah,
right?
it's been a lengthy 10 years to make those systems in place so that the franchise respects the brand.
And it's your brand,
Rather.
and you may not necessarily have full control operationally on a day-to-day basis because of the franchisee model. At any point of time, did you think that the risks were too high? And how did you manage that?
So I believe
कि अब नहीं हो पा रहा है, अभी छोड़ते हैं, कभी ऐसा feeling आया है?
वो तो आता था,
आ रहा था. फिर कैसे manage किया? And I'm sure she also had that
so क्या होता है
similar
ना,
feeling.
you are in the middle of the ocean, you cannot go this side or that side. तो सब लोगों को पता है कि नहीं, इसने पहला कुछ स्टार्ट किया है, बिगीज बोलता रहता है,
इज्जत का सवाल है,
फेसबुक में डालता रहता है, तो अभी हो गया कि नहीं, we cannot go back.
Yeah, there's no okay.
So, it's like you're on a treadmill.
Yeah.
You either run and run faster or just fall off. There's no choice.
Right. But you just told me that while it's a treadmill, your vision has to be of running a triathlon and a marathon and conserve your energy.
I fundamentally believe it's not. Running a business in the country is not a sprint. It is a triathlon. You have to take each day as it comes, and you have to build slowly and carefully, steadily. Otherwise, the risk is higher, and then it's a go big or go home.
Then you lose control of the business, and
it's a go big or go home, in my opinion. And then you should be willing to go home then.
Right. So he's in the ocean. You don't want to go home. So slowly and steadily build big, keep going. And I think that's a very nice lesson of entrepreneurship. I think that a lot of our viewers of this podcast will learn. Let's shift the gears a little bit, from the business side of risk to the personal finance side of it. You're married, you have a child. I think, Rucheyta, you also are married and have a child. So, how do you look at personal finance, family, personal wealth, managing it, insurance, and everything else that comes along?
So, I believe today is the time. I believe it's been a year or two. I have been started thinking of managing personal funds and all these things. Investing at some long-term investments or stock market or something like that.
Okay.
But still, I believe that investment on yourself
is the best investment.
Gives you the most exposure.
Yeah.
And the returns are very high.
You're speaking like Warren Buffett now.
I don't know whether he spoke or not.
True. It's true.
But the first priority is definitely the company that I have built. Then myself. Then the external sources, wherever there is a safe and secured way of an investment is there.
Yeah. Same thinking or slightly different?
So I'm lucky to have a husband in finance, and his constant line to me from day one has been, business first, because that's the best investment that you can make.
Right.
I am privileged enough to not have to think of, running the house, etc., earning for the house.
Right.
But I think for me, the business comes first, and then my entire team of 450 people who I would, make sure that they are well insured.
Right.
Before I take money back home still.
Right. So any experience with insurance apart from the team?
Personally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or saving for the child, or, term insurance, health insurance, any of that?
Yeah, I think health insurance is the basic thing, and term insurances and ULIPs and all these things. So there's a bit and parcel everywhere.
Yeah, given both of you are so heavily invested on the business side, how do you kind of ensure that your personal finance thinking has evolved and changed and is kind of differentiated from how you run your business?
So I believe it's been 13, 14 years of running the business, and today business is somehow a little stable. And today when there is a surplus amount, or we draw salaries, and we draw salary as per the position of the company, and we have been living very minimalistic throughout. So we keep on investing on. So I recently have invested in equity of some companies, some founders whom I knew, and I knew that they would build something brilliant in future. And the traditional way of term insurance and other insurances, that's there.
Sure. How about you, Rucheyta?
I think initially, you always want to put back every rupee that you have earned back into the business, because you know that this is the biggest, best return in the long term that you're going to get. But of course, once you're building a family, you have children, you start thinking inwards also. I have been privileged, so I may not have to, think of it so much, because I have a husband who's sort of looking after that angle. But my partner is someone who has to sort of
The business partner that
my
you have.
business partner,
Right.
he has to think about this. So there is, like he was saying, a salary that he would take, and he would invest that salary in either, mutual funds or in a small
Sure.
property or something that grows and something that's giving him stability in the long term till the
Perfect.
business sort of.
While you guys are entrepreneurs, there are a lot of people who work for you, who work with you. And these people are not necessarily building businesses. They are here for their daily gig or the monthly salary. So what kind of advice typically would you give them if there's anything?
So I believe we are a team of very young people, and we have been building them parts and pieces. Like, we have been focusing on them a lot. So the first thing that we convey to them is we do have an ESOP pool. So we want them to focus on the ESOP pool to earn more out of that. Yeah, but everyone is not part of the same vision.
Yeah.
So I ideally, some of my employees have taken off franchises even.
Okay.
And some of the franchises have been a part of the team as well.
Okay.
So we are building a very closely knitted team, which is a part of the whole journey.
But outside of business, like,
Yeah,
is there anything that you offer them in
believe,
terms of security, for example? Is there a group term insurance or a group
there is a group term
insurance?
insurance for
There's
the
a group term
whole
insurance.
company for everyone in the system.
And any saving mechanism that you advise? So basically you're saying reinvest in the business in some sense along with you. And
we have not gone to that stage at this point of
become
time.
Joint stockholders in some sense. How about you, Rucheyta, with your staff?
I think it's always an endeavor to sort of take the team with you,
right,
always, and try and show them the bigger picture. Some see that vision, some don't.
Right.
The ones that see that vision, of course, are part of the ESOP pool eventually. Those who don't, I don't think you can change
their mindset
to believe in what they're building, because I think they can't see what they're building as much as you'd like. To them, we do help. We have the finance team who sits with them and tries to help them figure
with their
ways
tax planning and everything else.
With tax planning, insurance, family, old parents, etc.
Perfect. I think financial literacy in India has a long way to go, and I think entrepreneurs like you can do a lot of work with your own staff and with everybody working with you in the ecosystem to kind of educate them, and that's the entire attempt that we are doing with Clarify Life, which is an initiative by HDFC Life Insurance. Just some questions again, coming back from personal finance to lessons for entrepreneurs, right? You worked for a very limited period and then ventured off. You ran it like a side hustle while working in a formal place. So two different ways of thinking, and which have worked for each of you independently, right? What would you recommend to young people who are viewing this? Should they work first, gain experience, and then dive into the ocean, or would you have done it differently? Especially you, because you continued to work for 5 years before you.
I would say no. I think I was blessed not to have any business experience or not to study
so
business.
Not having a business experience was
a blessing that
positive.
Time. Yeah. I believe today the market has been very matured and organized.
Okay.
So and there is a stability in the industry today.
Sure.
Earlier it was a few brands. QSR was not. When I'm talking about QSR, it was not so popular. So today, definitely,
but you had a backup plan in some sense, because you were doing a side. I mean, you were working in an IT company.
So I would have gone back to IT.
You could have gone back to IT.
Yeah.
You were
but again, what has happened is,
and
I think what
you were a misfit in some sense.
I was a misfit in the job industry for sure, but I also believe that if I had continued in the job industry and like maar dhad ke, I had just continued because I felt like I had no other choice.
Yeah.
I think that gut and instinct that an entrepreneur works with dies over time.
Right.
You like that salary at the end of the month that comes in. You get into a comfort zone.
It's like addiction, right?
It's an addiction because, there is that sense of security and safety that comes in. And then that also kills that spirit of taking that plunge and doing something of your own.
And when you're younger, you can afford to take a lot more risk.
You can. Also, there's a certain number of preconceived notions that will get built over time as you grow older.
Right.
So the younger you are and the faster you start, I feel like you just start at a blank slate.
Yeah.
You don't know better than this.
Yeah.
So you just give it your own, and I think fundamentally you believe
as long as you have self-belief.
I will make it work.
Okay.
I'm plunging into it. This is my decision. I'm responsible and accountable to this decision. I will make it work and figure it out. Let me just get into it.
A few rapid fire questions now, as we move towards the end segment. What is the most expensive purchase you have ever done?
I have bought a bike for myself. I think.
Okay. How expensive?
It was around 24 lakhs.
24 lakhs. Okay. How about you?
I bought a car for myself when I was 25.
Wow.
It was a BMW, and I was very proud of myself. I bought that at about 25 for about 18 lakhs. Got a second hand.
Wow. Okay, so superb. If you were to eliminate one thing from your daily routine, what is it that you'll change?
Probably spending a lot of time on social media.
Okay, she's already eliminated that, so you have. What more will you eliminate now?
I think I would eliminate, honestly, being so obsessed with what kind, especially in the last 18 months, because I think the industry has been going through a slowdown in general, but I think this obsession with the sales numbers, I wish I could just, and
you're on
go
a treadmill,
back.
as you said. Yeah,
it's a treadmill, and it's
And you want to go back to the triathlon and
correct.
Conserving energy
Absolutely.
and running there.
And part of it is actually social media based
Yeah.
also, right?
Got it. So if you've got, let's say, a chunk of money, where will you invest outside of your business?
I'll buy something which can give me more exposure, probably a house in. So what is happening is India is getting westernized day by day, so we get to know a lot of things from what's happening over there. So I would probably buy a house in Dubai or Singapore and try to understand what's the trend going on there.
Okay.
And follow the
basically
trend,
global exposure.
global
Spend that
exposure,
money
yeah,
on
yeah.
getting more global exposure and maybe start some business there.
Not really. Maybe
Not
take
really.
this business there.
Okay.
If it fits there.
Okay.
But had it been in the company, I would have spent the whole money on building my good people.
Okay. On people. You'll invest it on people. How about you, Rucheyta?
I think the business. I can't really at this point think beyond.
You're not thinking beyond business?
No, I think I enjoy too much.
Okay.
I love it too much. And you want to invest back into something that you believe so much in.
Okay. So. One thing that comes to your mind when someone tells you what's next?
Probably making Biggies burger larger. I think.
What beyond that?
I think at this point of time, it's very, very.
Okay, that's your passion, that's your life, and that's what
I
you want to stay
focused
on.
Most
entrepreneurs will have that answer. Trust me.
Okay, nothing next. Stay in the present and stay focused on what you're doing right now. Would you rather have unlimited time or unlimited funding?
I would have unlimited independence.
Unlimited independence. Okay.
I would have unlimited independence and time. Money is a byproduct.
Money is a byproduct. Okay. As we wrap up, right, let's get real in terms of lessons that entrepreneurs can get from this podcast. What's the toughest truth about running a business that nobody has ever mentioned to you?
I believe you will be working all alone most of the time.
Okay.
So you'll not get like-minded people who would have the
Ekla chalo re.
Ekla chalo re.
Okay.
So I think that's something. So sometimes you'll feel
lonely and alone,
less confident.
And therefore, I think this mentorship and this entire circle about startups and founders helping each other comes into play. About you, Rucheyta?
I think I have a couple of things. So
sure.
I think the first 1,000 days of a business are the most important. You will work 18-20 hours a day if you are serious about it. And really if you par Crore the first 1,000 days, it'll be a breeze after that. But I think that's your testing phase.
So the first 1,000 days is about capital, managing the business, getting the product right.
It's about sweeping the floors. It's about taking customer calls. It's about delivering your product. It is about knowing where to open what next. It's about where to put your funds. It's about absolutely everything, because you're the sole person taking decisions. You haven't yet built the team that you eventually intend to
So you're in the
build.
trenches and no business book can essentially teach you how to manage
Absolutely,
this.
because you're still, this is new to you. There's no handbook for this, right? Nobody has taught you this before. So you're just taking each day as it comes and, And I think the second part about this is be prepared to take those 100 decisions, which are usually trade-offs every day.
Right.
So, what are you really going to focus on? Is it this or that?
And you can't afford delegate it, right? So, and therefore the thing that Biraja was saying, that you're lonely and all decisions and the buck stops with you essentially.
Absolutely,
so you have to take a lot of decisions, right? From
all problems are yours.
Yeah, what product to offer, what is the setting, let's say in the restaurant, what is the kind of products that you'll be offering, what price point, all decisions are yours. And as entrepreneurs, you live and die by those very decisions. Fair enough. Thank you so much. I think those were some great lessons that, the entrepreneurs and other people who are watching this podcast will take away from lessons, and really great businesses, great brands that both of you are building, and all the best for the future.